Hello everyone. Before we start, make sure to like and subscribe to the channel and leave a comment with where you're from and what time you're watching. That way, YouTube will keep showing you stories just like this one. Now, let's begin. I've been driving long haul for 8 years now. You get used to a lot of things on the road. The loneliness, the weird truck stop food, the endless stretches of highway that all start to look the same. But one thing I never got used to was sleeping through storms in the middle of nowhere. This happened last November, somewhere off I-70 in Colorado. I'd been pushing hard all day, trying to make my delivery window, and by the time the storm hit, I was already running on fumes. The rain came down so hard I could barely see 10 feet in front of me. Lightning was cracking across the sky every few seconds, turning everything into these brief snapshots of darkness and blinding white light. Around 11 p.m. I spotted a sign for Elk Ridge Rest Stop. I'd never stopped there before, but I didn't have much choice. The wind was starting to push my rig around and I needed sleep. I pulled off the highway and into the rest area. The place was almost empty, just 2 other vehicles. A beat-up minivan parked near the restrooms and a dark sedan way off in the corner, facing away from everything. The whole area was surrounded by dense pine trees that swayed and creaked in the wind. There was one flickering streetlight near the entrance, but most of the lot was pitch black. I parked my truck in the middle of the lot, away from the trees. Old habit. I always lock my doors the second I park, then close the curtains in my sleeper cab. I set my alarm for 5 a.m., lay back, and just listened to the rain hammering against the metal roof. The wind rocked the truck slightly, but it was rhythmic, almost soothing. I must have fallen asleep around midnight. Around 1 in the morning, I woke up to a sound. It was faint at first, just a light tapping. I thought maybe it was a branch hitting the side of the truck. The wind was still going strong, so it made sense. I rolled over and tried to go back to sleep, but then the tapping changed. It became rhythmic, deliberate. Knock, 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 pause, knock, knock, knock. I sat up, heart already starting to pound. I pulled back the curtain just a little, just enough to peek outside. Nothing, just rain sheeting down, lightning flashing in the distance. The trees looked like black fingers clawing at the sky. I let the curtain fall back and told myself I was being paranoid. Probably just the storm. I lay back down, but I couldn't shake the uneasy feeling crawling up my spine. 20 minutes later, it happened again. Knock, knock, knock. This time, louder. On the driver's side door, I froze. That wasn't a branch. That was knuckles on metal. I grabbed my phone, ready to use the flashlight, but I didn't turn it on. I didn't want whoever was out there to know I was awake. My hand was shaking. I just sat there in the dark, listening. The knocking stopped. Silence. Just the rain and the wind. I slowly pulled back the curtain again, just a crack, and looked toward the parking lot. The minivan was gone. It had been there. When I pulled in, I was sure of it. Now it was just the sedan, still parked far away in the corner, no lights on. That's when the real fear set in. I lay back down, but I couldn't sleep. Every sound outside made my chest tighten. I kept checking my phone. No signal. The storm must have knocked out the towers. At 2:30 in the morning, the knocking came back. But this time, it was at the back of the cab. Near the sleeper window, I heard footsteps on the gravel. Slow. Deliberate, like someone was circling the truck. My heart was slamming against my ribs. I didn't move. I barely breathed. Then I heard a voice, muffled by the rain, but clear enough. "I know you're in there." My stomach dropped. I didn't respond. I just gripped my phone, staring at the curtain, praying whoever it was would just leave. The voice came again, louder this time. "Just open up. I need help. Play it." But the tone was wrong. It was flat, emotionless, like someone reading from a script. I stayed silent. The footsteps started again. Slow, circling. I could hear the crunch of gravel under boots, the rain splashing off fabric. Whoever it was, they were right outside. Then the footsteps stopped. Long pause. And then, her face pressed against the sleeper window. I couldn't see features, just the outline of a head through the curtain, but I could hear breathing. Slow, steady, right on the other side of the glass. I wanted to scream, but I couldn't. I just sat there, frozen, staring at that shadow. Then suddenly, the person grabbed the door handle and pulled. Hard, the whole cab rattled. The door was locked, but they kept pulling, jerking the handle up and down, harder and harder. The sound of metal grinding against metal filled the cab. That's when I snapped. I lunged forward, started the engine, and flipped on the headlights. The figure outside stumbled back just out of the light's reach. I could see him now, a man, pale and soaked, wearing a torn jacket that hung off his frame. His hair was plastered to his face, and he just stood there, staring at me. Not moving, not blinking. I threw the truck into gear and hit the gas. As I peeled out of the lot, I glanced in my rearview mirror. He was still standing there, same spot, motionless in the rain, just watching me drive away. I didn't stop for 40 miles. My hands were shaking so bad I could barely grip the wheel. When I finally pulled over at a well-lit truck stop, I sat there for an hour, just trying to calm down. A few days later, I was talking to another driver at a fuel stop. I mentioned Elk Ridge, and his face went pale. He said drivers had been reporting weird stuff there for years. Someone knocking on trucks in the middle of the night, always during storms. No one ever sees who it is, and no one sticks around long enough to find out. He told me some people think it's a ghost. Others think it's someone who lives in the woods nearby, preying on truckers who stop there alone. I don't know, which is worse. I still don't know if that man needed help, or if I was the one who needed saving. I'm not someone who scares easily. You can't be in this job. But what happened outside Barstow, California, last summer still keeps me up at night. I'd been driving through the desert all day, flat, empty, baking under the sun. By the time midnight rolled around, I was exhausted. I pulled into a truck stop just off the highway, one of those places that's barely a blip on the map. A few gas pumps, a convenience store that was closed, and a gravel lot big enough for maybe a dozen trucks. But when I pulled in, the place was almost empty. Just one other vehicle, a dark blue sedan with tinted windows, parked near the edge of the lot. That's when the storm hit. Desert thunderstorms are rare, but when they come, they're violent. The sky opened up and rain just poured. Lightning split the sky every few seconds, lighting up the flat plains around us. I parked my truck, locked the doors, and pulled the curtains shut. I remember glancing at the sedan before I settled in. It was still there, engine off, facing my direction. I couldn't see inside because of the tint, but something about it felt wrong. I shook it off, told myself I was being paranoid. I lay down, listening to the rain hammer the roof, and eventually drifted off. Around 2 a.m, I woke up with that horrible feeling. You know the one. The feeling that someone's watching you. I didn't want to look, but I had to. I pulled back the curtain, just a sliver, and peeked out into the parking lot. The sedan was still there. Same spot, same angle. But now I noticed something I hadn't before. It was facing me. Driver's side aimed directly at my cab. My stomach twisted. I stared at those dark windows, trying to see if anyone was inside, but the tint was too thick. The rain didn't help either. Everything outside was just shadows and water. I let the curtain fall back and tried to convince myself it was nothing. Maybe the driver was asleep too. Maybe they'd just parked that way by accident. But then I heard it, a car door opening, very softly, like someone was trying not to make noise. Then it closed. Gently. Footsteps on wet pavement. Coming closer. I held my breath. My heart was pounding so loud I thought whoever was out there could hear it. The footsteps stopped. Right outside my driver's side door. Silence. Then, a flashlight beam swept across my windshield. Slowly, methodically. Someone was looking into my truck. I didn't move. The curtains were closed, but they weren't perfect. There were thin gaps where light could get through. I just lay there, frozen, praying they couldn't see me. The beam lingered. I could hear breathing now. Slow, controlled. Then the person moved. Around the front of the truck, to the passenger side. The flashlight beam swept across that window too. Same slow, deliberate sweep. I grabbed my phone, ready to call 911, but there was no signal. The storm must have knocked out the towers. That's when I heard it. The person tried the passenger door handle. It was locked, thank God, but they tried again. Harder this time, rattling it. My blood ran cold. This wasn't someone asking for help. This was someone testing my doors. They moved to the back of the truck. I heard the rear compartment latch jiggle. Locked too. Then, silence. Footsteps retreated. I heard the car door open and close again. I waited. 10 minutes. 15. Too terrified to move. Finally, I peeked through the curtain. The sedan was still there. Engine off. No movement. I didn't wait any longer. I started my truck, loud on purpose, and pulled out of that lot as fast as I could. As I drove toward the highway, I glanced in my side mirror. The sedan's headlights turned on, and it started following me. My heart nearly stopped. I pressed the gas, speeding up, weaving through empty streets, trying to lose them. The sedan stayed right behind me. I was panicking now, hands slick with sweat, checking the mirror every 2 seconds. I considered ramming through a fence, going off-road, anything to get away. Then, just as suddenly as it started, the sedan fell back. It turned down a side street and disappeared into the rain. I didn't stop. I drove for another hour, shaking until I hit a well-lit rest area, packed with other trucks. The next day, I reported it to the police, gave them the description, the location, everything. They never found the car. If you're still listening, you probably enjoy stories like this. A like or a comment helps keep them alive. I still wonder what would have happened if I hadn't woken up, or if one of those doors had been unlocked. Winter driving is the worst, especially through the Midwest, where storms can turn from rain to ice in minutes. Last January, I was hauling freight across I-80 in Nebraska when I got caught in one of those storms. Freezing rain, zero visibility, wind that made my truck feel like a tin can. I pulled off at an unmarked turnout around midnight. No lights, no other vehicles, just me and the storm. I always keep my CB radio on. It's an old habit. Most truckers do. You never know when you'll need help or when someone else will. That night, all I heard was static. I locked up, closed the curtains, and tried to get some sleep. Around 1 a.m, a voice crackled through the CB. Male. Calm. Claire. You alone out there? I figured it was another trucker stuck in the storm. I grabbed the handset and responded. Yeah, just waiting it out. The voice came back immediately. Good. Stay inside. I froze. The tone wasn't friendly. It was serious. Almost urgent. I pressed the button again. Why? What's going on? No response. Just static. I sat there, staring at the radio, waiting. 20 minutes passed. Nothing. Then the voice came back. He's closer now. My stomach dropped. I grabbed the handset. Who's closer? What are you talking about? Silence. I checked my mirrors. Nothing but ice and darkness. The storm was getting worse. Wind howling, ice pelting the windshield. Around 2 a.m, the voice returned. This time, it sounded urgent. Don't look outside. Do not look outside. My pulse spiked. I sat up, gripping my flashlight, debating whether to ignore the warning. The voice came again, almost frantic now. I'm serious. Keep your curtains closed. I whispered into the CB. Who are you? Where are you? Long pause. Then, I'm in the truck behind you. I spun around, yanked back the rear curtain, and looked out the back window. Nothing. No truck, no lights, just empty road disappearing into the storm. Panic clawed at my chest. I grabbed my phone. No service. The voice came back, quieter now. He's at your door. And then I heard it, a faint scraping sound. Metal on metal, coming from the driver's side. I froze, every muscle locked. The scraping continued. Slow, deliberate, like nails dragging across the paint. The voice on the CB whispered, Don't move. He'll leave if you don't move. I obeyed. I sat there, trembling, flashlight off, curtains shut tight, listening to that horrible scraping sound. Then it stopped. Silence. Footsteps. Crunching on ice. Walking away. I didn't move until dawn. I couldn't. I was too terrified. When the sun finally came up, I stepped outside. There were scratches along the driver's door, deep, fresh, gouged into the paint. But there were no footprints in the snow, no tire tracks, no sign that anyone had been there. I tried the CB again. Hello, are you still there? A different voice answered. Female, professional. A dispatcher. This is Channel 19, you need assistance. I asked if anyone else had been broadcasting last night. She said, negative, channel's been quiet all night. I don't know who was on that radio, or what was outside my door, but I've never used my CB at night again. Sometimes, when all the truck stops are full, you have to get creative. You find a quiet spot, somewhere off the beaten path, and hope for the best. Last summer, I was driving through Nevada when I ran into that exact problem. Every truck stop along Route 95 was packed. It was late, almost midnight, and I was exhausted. I needed sleep. That's when I spotted an old way station. It had been closed for years, just sitting there on the side of the highway, abandoned. Cracked pavement, rusted chain-link fence, no lights, but it was flat and it was empty. I pulled in. Desert storms are rare, but when they hit, they're violent. This one came out of nowhere. Lightning, rain, wind. The whole sky just opened up. I parked, locked my doors, and closed the curtains. The place felt wrong, but I didn't have a choice. I needed rest. Around 3 a.m, I woke to tapping on the glass. Soft, rhythmic. I thought it was rain at first, but the sound was too precise, too deliberate. I pulled back the curtain, just a little. There was a woman standing outside. She was soaked, hair plastered to her face, wearing a dress that looked like it had been white once but was now grey and torn. And she was staring directly at me. Not moving, not speaking, just staring. My heart stopped. I let the curtain fall back and grabbed my phone. No service. The tapping continued. Louder now. I shouted, "What do you want?" No response. Just tapping. I peeked through the curtain again. She was closer now. Face pressed against the glass, eyes wide, unblinking. Mouth slightly open. I recoiled, heart pounding. Then she started scratching at the window, nails dragging down the glass. Slow, deliberate. I yelled, "Get away from my truck." She stopped, tilted her head, and smiled. Wide, unnatural. Then she walked to the front of the truck, never breaking eye contact through the windshield. She stood there in the faint glow of my headlights, arms at her sides, swaying slightly. Rain poured over her. She didn't flinch. I started the engine. She didn't move. I honked. Her smile widened. I floored it, swerving around her. In the rearview mirror, she was still standing there, motionless, watching. I drove for an hour before I stopped. When I inspected the window, I found scratches. Deep, long, fingernail marks. I asked around at the next truck stop. No one had seen her. No one else had stopped there. Later, I searched online, found reports of a woman matching that description at the same location. For years. No one knows who she is. Some say she died there decades ago. I don't know if she was real, or if that place plays tricks on you. But those scratches are still on my window. This is the one that still haunts me, the one I can't explain. It happened last October, somewhere on Highway 50 in West Virginia. I'd been driving for 14 hours straight, and by the time I saw the sign for a rest area, I was running on empty. I pulled in around 10 p.m. The place was tiny, just a single picnic table, a flickering street light, and dense forest on all sides. No other vehicles, just me and the storm rolling in. I parked, locked my doors, and fell asleep almost immediately. Around 2 in the morning, I woke to knocking. Loud, insistent. I pulled back the curtain and saw a man standing in the rain, drenched, waving at me. He shouted, muffled by the storm, "Hey, I need help. My car broke down." I hesitated. Something felt off. I cracked the window. "Sorry, man. Can't help. Call a tow truck." He stepped closer. "Come on, man. Just give me a jump, please." I looked around. There was no car, no broken-down vehicle anywhere. "Where's your car?" He paused, then smiled. "Down the road." My gut screamed at me. I closed the window and locked it, but he didn't leave. He walked around my truck, slowly, hands in his pockets. Then he stopped at the passenger side and said, clearly, loudly, "Come on, my name. Don't be like that." My blood ran cold. I never told him my name. He continued, "I've been waiting for you. You always stop here, don't you?" I didn't recognize him at all. He tapped on the window. "I've seen you before. You don't remember me." I grabbed my phone. No service. His smile faded. "That's rude. I thought we were friends." Then he started pulling on the door handle. Hard. Violent. I started the engine and threw it into gear. He jumped in front of the truck, arms spread wide, grinning. I slammed the horn and swerved around him. In the rearview mirror, he was running after me. Full sprint, still smiling. I didn't stop for 50 miles. Later, I checked my logbook. I'd stopped at that rest area multiple times over the past year. Same spot. I reported it to police. No one matching his description was ever found. I still don't know how he knew my name, or how long he'd been watching. But I've never stopped at that rest area again, and I never will. The open road is supposed to be freedom, but sometimes it's the most dangerous place to be alone. Every trucker has stories like these. Most just don't talk about them. The storms will keep coming, and so will the people who wait in them. I just hope I'm never the one they're waiting for again. Stay safe out there, and if you're ever alone in a storm, keep your doors locked. Thanks for listening.